Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Only Adult in the Room podcast, where neither of us pretend to be experts in parenting, but we think we might have learned one or two things along the way. My name is Lindsay.
And I'm Susan, and I'm going to do the thing, which you let me do. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just reminding people that this is not any kind of therapy or therapeutic advice beyond what you're going to get out of it. You know, that's up to you. But seriously, if you find yourself in need of help, please, avail yourself of the resources that you have in your local community and get the help that you might.
Yeah. So, Susan, today we've had a few episodes under our belt. Yeah. Maybe we're not professionals, but we're getting there.
You can be the professional. Okay. I'm just gonna be the mom doing the thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Who happens to do some other things too.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, how do you think it's going so far?
I think it's been interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten some feedback from some people, and they, of course, as people do, leave constructive feedback for us. I've gotten some surprising feedback from people.
Yeah.
A couple that have really kind of landed with me personally is from people who aren't parents yet.
Yeah.
And that kind of took me by surprise. And they're like, this is really cool to listen to moms talk. Maybe their relationship with their parents wasn't the best. And that hasn't deterred them from becoming parents in the future. And so what this one particular writer was sharing is that he appreciates the fact that there are parents out there that really do want to do the best by their children. That might or might not have been that particular individual's experience.
Gotcha.
But it gave them just encouragement. And I think when we think back to why we wanted to do it, it's just that. It's how do we do the best we can do, support each other in the process, support the parents in the process, and have the grace in the thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's been my takeaway. It's oh, okay, it landed. It just didn't land quite yet where I thought it would land. So
for sure, yeah.
How about you?
Similar such experience. I've had at least one person say, I don't have kids yet, but I will be listening to literally every episode of your podcast because I feel like I can learn a couple of things to help prepare myself for the future, which I think is great. Another piece of feedback I've gotten as well is I think people are ready for us to start talking about some strategies.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, strategies. Hang in there.
No doubt.
Hang in there. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that sounds like a platitude. You're doing a great job. Parenting's hard. Yeah, parenting is hard, and you're doing a great job, and you got to keep on doing the thing, right?
Absolutely.
And so how do we move from just, being two ladies who are going back and forth to okay, so I like to surface difficult things kind of on, right? And so I'm thinking back with our guests. I'm thinking of the stuff that you and I talk about outside of the podcast. And I'm thinking, can I just name 5 things that if I had my magic wand, parents would get more comfortable doing?
Yeah.
Not that I think that I do any of these great. And I have 3 kiddos that would tell you that, nope. Probably is number 3 and 4. Nope, you didn't do great at all. But looking at what we're trying to accomplish, right? We're trying to give parents ideas, tips, tricks, resources, and confidence to do the thing that they need to do as parents.
Yeah.
These are my 5 wishes, and I wrote them down because you know me and I don't have a good memory. So
well, I'm
going to read.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Go
Is
ahead,
cool?
please.
Okay. Good. Okay. Now I've got to read my handwriting, which is going to be no. Okay. The first one is to teach kids to sit with uncomfortable feelings. Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. I find, and when I observe parents, that we are so quick to minimize the uncomfortableness that our children are experiencing, and there's a real reason why we're doing that. It's because we don't want to feel uncomfortable either. So if our child is uncomfortable, creating a scene, causing, whatever, I'm going to do whatever I can to minimize that because it makes me uncomfortable. And then people are looking at me or whatever the case. And I think of your football carry hold conversation story.
Yeah.
But that the act of being okay with uncomfortable feelings, that's like a growth milestone. We've got to understand, we've got to understand. It's important that we help our kids understand that that's okay.
Yeah.
And that you can get through that.
Yeah.
And understand that their body feels like this in that moment, but it's not going to last forever, probably. Again,
Yeah.
we're talking about typical kids or typical situations, not the extreme things. So the faster we are as parents to like solve everything for our kids or minimize those uncomfortable feelings or get rid of those uncomfortable feelings, we're really kind of robbing them from a growth opportunity. And
yes.
that looks different the older they get.
I completely agree with you. And if you don't mind me piggybacking,
Of course.
that's going to be my catchphrase, I guess, piggybacking. But
I like that.
yeah, so, I'm envisioning the parent who is always opening the milk cartons and things for their child. But I'm also envisioning a parent that perhaps minimizes some of those big feelings in their
Yeah.
kids.
Okay. You're hitting me right here.
Well,
you.
and but I have to be honest with you, in those early years,
Yes.
and I even still sometimes do it because I'm not perfect, right?
Right.
Sometimes my children will lose their minds over something and I'm like, you guys don't even pay taxes. Like, why are you so freaked out?
Right.
But their feelings are real and they're
Right.
valid and they should be allowed to have them.
Right.
And I should be able to rest in those feelings with them and help them explore what it actually means. But, I think I'm getting better, but, when they're really, really little, give them some of that autonomy and power to do for themselves and perhaps not do it well and then learn from that, So I think that's number one, brilliant out the gate.
Okay,
So
cool.
I'm sure you got four more great
I got
ones.
4 more great ones. Okay, here's the second one. Let them fail.
Yes.
I mean, just
Yes.
let them have that failure moment. Yes, you could have come in on the white horse and with the knight to rescue and whatever, but no. Kids need to understand what it means to fail. And when I mean fail, I don't mean like dangerous, injury fail. I mean, what does it mean if they don't get an A on the test?
Yeah.
What does it mean if they don't get picked for the football team or the baseball team or they don't get invited to the party? It's a
Yeah.
great place to have those yes and feelings. Yes, it hurts that you didn't get asked to go to the sleepover like your other 2 friends.
Yeah.
And I know you can get through this.
Yeah.
Right. And what do you want to do instead? How show them how to get through the thing. But I love what you said about acknowledging their feelings, right?
Yes.
And just being okay with them, failing. Making sure, in that idea of letting them fail, helping them understand that they are not what they do. So their doings are different than their beings. I love you, even though you didn't pass calculus 3 times.
Gosh, if someone had said that to me, what you do is not who you are, to paraphrase what you just said, I personally might have grown up feeling a little bit different sense of identity, right? Please do that early on.
Right,
That's okay. Number 2, check, brilliant.
Don't let them fail. Don't let them not fail. Okay.
Yeah.
Third thing, and this is a big one for me.
Okay.
Model how to handle stress. If our kiddos never see the adults in their lives or the older people that they're learning from handle a stressful moment, if we pretend that everything's peaches and roses and just everything's great, here comes those feelings again. Here comes that situation that I don't know what to do with the things that I'm feeling again. It kind of goes back to let them sit with uncomfortable feelings, but let them see you handle stress. And even for the little ones, one of the great things we can do with our younger kids is narrate what we're doing throughout the day.
Agreed.
Talk to them constantly, right? And so, maybe, I'm trying to think back. Like some of my most stressful days were at the end of the day coming home and it's like, Mommy's had a really hard day and I really don't want to cook dinner tonight. What should I do about that? Or I've had a really, really hard day and I just yelled at you and I'm really sorry.
Yes.
Or even better, after yelling at the kid going, ooh, I've had a hard day. I shouldn't have done that. Can you give me a few minutes just to calm down and then come back and do the thing? But what does it look like when your parent is having a stressful moment and how do they handle that? So we're teaching them, you can have stressful moments. Stressful moments are not going to define you forever and ever and ever. And how do you recover from those stressful moments?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I wonder how many parents themselves don't know quite how to cope with stress.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm also thinking to tell on myself yet again, why is she on this podcast? She's not the perfect mom. Well, I never said I
We never
was.
said, no.
But you know, I'll admit right here, right now, today, this day will live in infamy that when my girls were very little, we did spank them until one day I did so and I was mad while I did it. Because I was not regulating myself very well. And while my child was only like 4 years old, and I say only, 4 is still a pretty big age, you know, and you can have some very meaningful conversations. And I did just that.
Yeah.
I looked at her and I said, you know, I'm really sorry. I should not have done that, and I'm never going to do it again. And to this day, have not. I've kept my word. I think that's another big piece of the puzzle too, is if as the parent, you know, you have the big emotions, you have the conversation, and then you make a promise to your child, follow through and do that, you know?
And if you can't, for whatever reason, what do you know, how do you recover? How do you repair that, right?
Absolutely.
You said you'd never thank me again.
Yeah.
You're right. I did. And I'm sorry I did that. I had a,
Yes.
I had a hard moment, or whatever it is you say. I love the things we say after it.
Absolutely.
All right. My next one. Okay. Create opportunities for independence. Okay, we talk about kindergarten readiness and being ready for school. You know, what does it mean to be independent? Well, if I've never had the opportunity to be independent because my very attentive parents or teachers or whoever have always made things easy for me, or made it things smooth sailing, where I've never had to I've never had to try.
Yeah.
When presented with the opportunity where that person is not with me, I'm going to have a hard time doing the thing. I'm going to be sitting there going like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. So how do we help our kids, regardless of their age, you know, develop that sense of independence, that willingness to get out and do something? You know, classic, I think, you know, early childhood development theory, you know, you put a group of kids in a playground that have a fence, right? They're gonna play along the sides of the fence. You put them in a playground that doesn't have a fence, they're gonna kind of like whoosh together. I love to watch those kids that are willing to kind of go outside of that close knit thing, even though there's not a fence, and watch what parents do with them, or their caregivers, or whoever, whatever they're trying to do. But that's with the little ones. But what does independence look like for my child at each stage and, you know, age that the kiddo is in? Is it going to the grocery store, going into the grocery store, and then, you know, we're going to get lots of mail about, I'm never going to let my kid go. Okay, maybe that was a bad example. But what can my child do that's appropriate for the age of my child?
Right.
Can they make their own lunches? Can you let them be responsible for packing their water bottle or getting their karate uniform? And can you live with the consequences if they do not do the thing?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So again, I'm going to give you the opportunity to pack your own lunch. What happens if you don't pack your own lunch? Well, kid, I told you guess you're going to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwich at the lunchroom. Or, you know, you didn't bring your karate uniform. I guess you're going to sit out because your sensei will not let you on the mat unless you have the complete uniform.
Right.
You know, and then some parents, again, don't want to sit in that uncomfortableness of letting their kid fail. See, we're hitting like all of them all at the same time, right? And so they're going to make sure that those kids are going to be successful at all costs. And we're going to rob them again of that opportunity to be independent and suffer or experience the natural consequences of the things that we do.
You know, you said kindergarten readiness and getting ready to go to school, whatever that looks like for the child.
Sure.
I think one of the biggest things that I personally have experienced or witnessed parents doing, this is going to sound crazy, is like let them go to the bathroom on their own. Because they need to know how to do that. They need to know how to navigate their clothing, clean up after themselves, wash their hands on their own. And too often you see that as like sometimes maybe parents want to control the situation a bit, and they want to guarantee some level of cleanliness and organization and all of that. But, you know, the children, you got to learn to go to the bathroom by yourself at some point.
The kindergarten teacher would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, they're graduated to hand signals to tell their teachers that they need to go potty. And what good is the hand signal if an adult needs to then also follow them in the bathroom to wipe them and button their pants and all of that? They have to have some of that autonomy to go and do that. And then I'm also thinking about my own kids. You started, you know, preparing your own lunch.
Right.
My girls, we made this rule that when you were 6, you could use a butter knife, and then when you were 10, you could graduate to a sharp knife for things.
Right.
And so, my younger kid, number 2, the day she turned 10, she was like, I can use a steak knife now, but
10th birthday, where's my steak knife?
exactly. But the whole point of that is that I was trusting them with a utensil at a certain age, and they felt that power of being able to do for themselves. And in the same way, parents want to be empowered with information and skills and tools and all of that stuff. So do children.
Right.
I mean, we're just grown up children.
We are. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we think about it, if you think about it from, I think, an adult perspective, right? Independence means a lot to adults. We don't want to be told what to do.
Absolutely not.
But we do want to be told what to do.
Absolutely.
But we don't want to be told what, so it is such I think a fundamental thing for humans to be independent, to be on their own. And it's just one of those key developmental, it's not like a milestone checklist kind of thing.
Yes.
We talked about developmental milestones and things like that in an earlier episode. But being willing to go and try to do the thing, and knowing that mom or dad believe that I can do the thing. Yeah. And if I can't do the thing, they're still going to be there, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to leave me if I can't do the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, which kind of brings me to the next number 5, which is encourage healthy risk taking.
Yeah.
I mean, how frequently do we see parents or teachers just, again, try to control everything so we minimize the risk? My classic example of that is the evolution of playgrounds. Okay. Playgrounds used to be like these metal, crazy, wonderfully scary, but when I could when I could climb the 12-foot ladder to the slide and risk burning my thighs on that metal slide that went down, in my 1970s, wonderful shorts that we wore back in the 70s, that the exhilaration that I felt, that was a healthy risk, right? Yeah. And now when I look at a playground, we are lucky if there's any kind of incline, there's everything's so safe for us now. Yeah. That we, again, don't know what it feels like to take risk. We're too afraid to take a risk. And what does that then manifest later in that kiddo's life? Anxiety, inability to talk to somebody you don't know, in trying to remember that risk looks different for each family. Right. But the absence of taking safe risks shows up in really kind of damaging ways that it's hard to go back into. Yeah. I'd much rather have a risk-taking child and go, we need to settle down a little bit, rather than having one that's just too timid, too afraid. I'm not talking about shy personalities. I'm just talking about they're afraid just to do something that we should kind of naturally be able to. And so thinking about those 5 things: teaching kids to sit with uncomfortable feelings, letting them fail when it's appropriate, modeling how to handle stress, creating opportunities for independence, and encouraging healthy risk taking. When we take those things and we look at our modern society and the things that we naturally gravitate to are all very easily put in that category that helps us not do those things there, because we don't want to be inconvenienced. We don't want to have anything happen to us. We don't want to be stressed out, So modern technology, modern convenience. I know I've talked to you about this, and I'm just sitting there thinking about it. And I know you and I have a pretty healthy age gap between us. So I don't know where you are on this one, but I love remembering the trauma drama that was where I grew up. It was called Blockbuster Video or Movie Gallery, one of those kinds of things. And just the convincing somebody to take me there. Yeah. Okay, because my 2 friends were going to come over, spend the night, or whatever the case might be, and then praying that they had like the video that I wanted to watch, or if they didn't have the video, they had at least 3 different options, right? You had like no control over it, right? Yep. All right, so you're just like walking into Blockbuster, going, "Oh, please, 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 please," and then going up there and like it's gone. Yep.
And you're like, what do I do now?
What do I do now? We came up with a great plan. And then, we came home and the life was great. And they're like, oh, it wasn't the great movie. I've already seen it and, whatever. But we recovered, right? We recovered. And now I'm with my adult kids and we can watch whatever we want. 55 ways to Sunday, as many times as we want. It's instant gratification, right?
Yes.
And I'm just thinking, all the things that I learned how to do as a kid, just because I had to go to Blockbuster and convince somebody to drive and hope that it was there, is just suddenly taken away. Do I ever want to go back to that? No. I don't ever want to go back to having to go to Blockbuster to pick up my movie.
Right.
I love video on demand. I think that's great and all of the options that I have. But I wonder what I've lost or what my kids have lost or what our kids are now losing, our younger kids, because of that inconvenience that we no longer have.
I can tell you, a Friday night activity for me and my very best friend in school was walking over to Blockbuster, picking a movie.
Your parents let you walk?
Her parents did when I was
Okay. Her parents.
Mom, Dad, don't listen.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, no, we would do that and then go to the grocery store, grab snacks. They were in the same shopping center, and then go back to her house and just have a wonderful weekend. My kids are never going to have that experience, for one, but for two, just to tell you how different it is right now, is that on the off chance my children are watching live TV, they refer to commercials as ads.
Ads, okay.
Because on YouTube, it's an ad.
Yeah.
If you don't pay for the more expensive Hulu, for instance, it's an ad. They can't conceptualize a commercial that's more than like a 35-second ad in the middle of your video. They don't understand that. And you're right, it's an instant gratification thing. They no longer want to do the live TV because there's too many ads, Mom.
And I'm right there with you, because I find myself being totally annoyed and frustrated by the fact that I'm too cheap and not wanting to pay for the hyped up ad-free version. But I get totally frustrated when I can remember growing up, when the commercial came on and you were watching the Cosby Show or whatever on Thursday nights, right? During those breaks.
That was your bathroom break.
Absolutely. Bathroom break, food break, whatever. And there was no streaming the whole season in one live setting, right? You had your week was planned around whatever TV shows. And even younger, I can remember Dukes of Hazzard and Fantasy Island on Friday nights, right? I didn't want to do anything. I was young. I didn't really have the opportunity to do anything. Right. But I watched Dukes of Hazzard. I watched Fantasy Island.
No. Kids these days, they have no concept of that. Everything, you're right. It's right there at their fingertips.
Right.
And so when you talk about those 5 things that you listed, it's going to be even more difficult today with these advancements in technology, or even like AI and things like that, for them to have to seek out things and not be able to find it and feel the frustration, or whatever the case may be. And I think in our very first episode, you had asked me like, how do you do the technology thing, and I said, with limits and restrictions. Sometimes I just make them watch live TV because they need to have that life.
It's so painful. It's so painful.
Yeah,
you have to do it. But also thinking about these 5 things, these are all things I think that are very important to helping children get ready for school, for being ready for school, right? We talked about, being able to use the bathroom and just different things. But when children have never had really good opportunities to do these things, and then they're suddenly placed in an environment where it is expected that they know how to handle these kinds of things, which I can think of the first 30 days of kindergarten as being like, you're gonna get all these kinds of things going here. This is a place where we could do a better job of helping our kiddos get ready for kindergarten success.
Completely agree.
If we can teach them these things. And I know we'll have some resources kind of listed in our show notes for this one, if parents are kind of curious about parents get curious about what does this look like at the age and stage that your child is in at the time. Because it looks different, right?
It does.
Yeah. I mean, to expect a 4-year-old to sit still for more than 15, 20 minutes is kind of hard. They've got to learn how to do that, right? So, what is appropriate for a 3-year-old is not necessarily appropriate for an 8-year-old. And your parenting needs to reflect that change in the ages of the kiddos.
Yeah, and I think in the episode with Brooke, we talked about those developmental screenings. And I think it's important for parents to understand that the things that are in those screening tools are not the end all be all too.
Good point.
We're looking for, or the people doing screenings are looking for, the children to be able to do activities that indicate that they have developed physically, but also like personally and socially, and have communication skills.
Yeah.
And that's why I agree today in this episode too, like parents should be seeking out those resources so that, they can figure out where their child lands.
Right.
And it's not to find something wrong. It's to figure out where you are
Right.
and what to build upon.
I love it if I think of it like a roadmap, right? It's not to reach the end right there. It's like, what does the journey look like for us?
Yeah.
And is it okay if the journey looks a little different for us than it does for my neighbor or whatever the case might be? Doesn't mean anything other than the journey is different. Doesn't mean anything's right or wrong, good or bad, up or down. And how do we help? How do we normalize that weird feeling that we get when we find out there might be something, or there might not be something?
Yeah.
Again, I'm just reflecting on the episode with Brooke and like what stops parents from seeking or doing developmental screenings or seeking after advice or support in that particular thing.
Yeah.
Parenting is different today than it was when I had kiddos.
Absolutely.
But there are still some fundamental things that have to happen.
I agree with you.
And how do we help parents ensure that they're able to make those things happen for their kids, right?
I think you had said in that episode too that parents often are like avoiding this, having to grieve who they thought their child would be if they figure out something is wrong. But I think from my perspective, the knowing is the most powerful thing.
Absolutely.
And then also understanding that each of those skills that you're identifying is really pointing toward a layer that takes you somewhere else, right? So I think you had talked about grabbing a Cheerio or something along those lines. That's a skill that gets your child ready to learn to hold a pencil, to write, and cutting papers, also those skills. And if we don't allow our children to do those things, or at least do a little check-in, a temperature check, and see where they are, then, you might be going when they're 8 years old, hey, why aren't they doing the thing that their teacher's expecting them?
Right.
And so like, we're just trying to help today.
Right. Absolutely. Try to help today.
Yeah.
And thinking back to our friends who are kindergarten teachers or teachers in public or charter or whatever they are, it's like, what are the things that you want the kiddos to know how to do? And very rarely do they ever say, I need them to already know how to name, write, and spell every, 100 sight words or something like that. I mean, the thing I hear the most from them is I need them to know how to listen, how to ask for things when they need them, how to wait their turn, how just simple things that I guess aren't so simple, because if they were simple, maybe more kiddos would be able to do them now.
Being a part of a community is a big one, and if children don't have the opportunity to be around other children their same age, then they may lose out on some of those fundamental skills they need to share or pass things around or communicate effectively with other people too.
In the same token, though, we know a lot of families choose not to put their children in formal early learning environments, right? So,
very true.
So let's kind of play this out. This is like one of the fun things I like to do. Okay, so let's assume that we chose to not put our child or one of our kiddos in pre-K or childcare or Mother's Out or whatever we did. And my kiddo is now in kindergarten. And my kiddo has no idea what it feels like to be told no.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because we didn't use no because
we didn't have to.
We didn't have to because my kid was the only one that we had, So again, going back to those 5 things, what does it feel like to be to sit and be told no?
Yep.
Can I be okay being told no without having a major meltdown? And if you're ever in those kindergarten classrooms, the first 30 days, first couple of months of kindergarten, you can see some interesting things, right? I don't think formal early learning experiences are the answer to everything.
No.
I think they help with some things. And if the family chooses not to do that thing, that formal early learning, then what are they doing to ensure that they're still getting some of those skills? And things like that?
I think before we had talked about the parent a couple times, the parent being the best teacher for their child. And I agree with you. The formal learning setting doesn't have to be it.
Right.
But I do think opportunities for children to have those experiences, maybe, hey, mom and dad, it's okay to let them spill the milk.
Absolutely.
It's okay to let them fall down.
Absolutely.
And comfort them afterward, they don't have to be in a bubble. But also, seek out some opportunities for them to have a little bit of fun along the way. Being a kid is super fun and awesome.
It's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be stressful. We're not supposed to have anxiety at age 5, right?
Exactly.
No, we'll get that when we're older. So how do we support our families? How do we help our families understand, if these are things that like you're not already doing, or these are things that are like, maybe they're aha moments right now, you haven't damaged your children permanently for life. Right?
No,
It's like start doing it now. Anytime is a good time to start these things.
Absolutely.
Just realize that you might be having, it's going to feel weird, watching your kiddo have a meltdown and letting the kiddo have the meltdown.
Yes.
And being okay with them having the meltdown. I think Morgan is like, okay, if they need to have their big emotions, can I get down on the floor with them and be with them in the moment?
Yep.
I don't need to match their emotion.
Exactly.
I need to be there so they can get regulated, and then we can go up from there.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's just like, to me, it's a differently informed way of parenting.
I agree with you.
And it seems so much more liberating because there's more room for trial and error. And I don't have to be the perfect parent. I don't even know if a perfect parent exists.
I think I said in the first episode, we've been parenting for thousands of years and no one's cracked the code quite yet.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I'm definitely not the perfect parent, but like I said, we've learned some things along the way, perhaps. And I mean, I even ask you for advice with my kids because you've already lived the life that I'm living right now, So hopefully we're passing along some information
and I think you're doing a great
someone.
job.
Oh, well, thank
and
you.
I appreciate you asking. And I have no clue because I think you're doing a great job.
And I look at you like she knows everything.
I know
She's already done this.
I know nothing about the kids other than, looking at my kids now. We talk about the long game. Parenting is a long game. I'm still parenting children. I'm just parenting them at different ages.
Yep.
And we can have we have the different relationship. They're not looking to me for survival.
Yeah.
They're looking to me for wisdom, guidance. I don't know what it is.
Well,
I have to ask them what they're looking to me for.
And I'm transitioning there to that space.
Yes.
Like my husband and I are finding ourselves having conversations that we're not ready to have yet with our kids, but they're ready for these conversations and they're transitioning. And again, it's not survival. It's just figuring out who they are.
Right.
But if we had never connected with them when they were little, if we didn't start having conversations with them and explaining the world around them when they were very little, we wouldn't be having those conversations now at 11 and 12 years old.
Right.
And you wouldn't have those kinds of connections with your kids that you do as adults, right? So, I mean, like I think I've said a couple times in this episode, it layers.
It does.
Right?
And when you were saying that, it made me think, we are so quick. I say we. This is me talking here. I don't know if my husband's like, I was so quick to assume that my child needed that explanation or understanding that an adult would need, right? Like, what I'm trying to think of, like a classic is like, I don't want to, just irrational kind of fears and things like that. And they wanted me to explain something or I should say, I wanted to explain it from an adult's perspective when really all it needed to be said was from a child's perspective, a child's understanding. And again, I think that takes a lot of pressure off parents when we recognize they're not asking for us to give the PhD dissertation on what it means to have a best friend. They just want to know how come they don't have a best friend. And maybe they don't have a best friend because they don't know what a best friend is. But when you explain what a best friend is and you say, hey, little Susie, isn't she your best friend? And it's like, oh yeah. Okay. I've got a best friend. And, something so sweet and simple as that.
Yeah.
Or something maybe a little more serious about what does it mean to die?
Yeah.
We don't need to go into the existential crisis that adults might find themselves in, right?
Right.
What do you it's that curiosity about what's it like to be a child, and be okay with being curious about your kids.
That is one place where I think I have won. I should get like a little did my best badge.
Okay. Good
because,
idea.
Yeah.
Like only adult in the room merit badge.
Yeah. Because you can tell we've done Girl Scout things before. Yeah. I explained a couple of tough topics to my kids very early on, and I gave them the best explanation I could. And then they would ask why. And I think the response I gave them was beautiful, and I don't mean to brag on myself or toot my own horn, but I am a little bit.
You're allowed.
Is that I told them, I said, I don't think you need to know that right now. I'll tell you when you're older, but for now, know that this thing is going to happen,
that.
And they accepted it. They were like, okay, cool. Mom will tell us later.
Yeah. And they were okay with that, right?
Absolutely.
And why do we need to make it more difficult?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And families will approach it similar or different. Who knows? But that's pretty cool.
Well, Suzan, I think we might be getting the hook a little bit. So do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Wow, what an amazing, crazy, fun 4 episodes it's been.
Agreed.
Love the feedback from our viewers or our listeners if they're listening to the podcast. Would love for people to let us know, is there anything in particular that they would like for us to dive into or have a guest on that can highlight? I know we've got ideas of things that we want to share.
Sure.
So yeah, that's just like, it's just been really awesome to be able to share some space with you.
Yeah.
And talk about the cool things that we see as moms.
Yep.
And dads, the dads are there too.
Yeah.
But just being a parent and how cool of a responsibility that is.
Yeah. I agree with you. This has been fun. And I want to keep it going. And I guess to our listeners, if you have any ideas or a wish list of things that you want us to talk about or bring an expert on to talk about so they can be the adult in the room that day, whatever platform you're listening on, if there's the ability to comment, shoot a comment in there, send us a message, whatever way works for you. But we want to know what you guys want to know, and we want to be a part of your village in that way. So I guess to wrap us up.
Can I add just one thing in there?
Go ahead.
So what do they want to know? Or what would they like to share? So there's difference from wanting to know versus wanting to expound on, right?
Yeah.
So if there's something out there that somebody is like wants to discuss, I'm willing to kind of like vet it and see if it's a pretty cool thing. Because there are some incredible parents out there.
Completely agree.
And if you're an incredible parent and want to come and tell us how incredible you are, let us know.
Yeah, or if you're just incredible 3 days a week, we will do that too.
2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us for yet another episode of The Only Adult in the Room. And we hope to see you guys again soon.